Welcome back, folks. My name is LastKnownMeal, and today we're going to be talking about The Witcher 3, or well, more precisely, we're going to be talking about Novigrad. Yes, Novigrad is a city which I actually really liked since The Witcher 3 came out, and Novigrad as a city was always that Witcher city, the hub, when it came, to Geralt, when it came to the books, when it came to everything else. Novigrad was always there, and actually seeing it properly done in The Witcher 3 was a whole different experience. Now, I haven't paid as much attention to the city when I was originally playing The Witcher 3. I knew like how insane the city is and how populated and detailed it is, but I never actually went through different streets and nooks and crannies of the city to explore it and to fully see what the game has to offer, because I think Novigrad serves to CDPR as somewhat of a staple of how are they going to play with immersion in the future, and that's something we can create a parallel with Cyberpunk, for example, with how that city is done and why it lacks certain details, which for example Novigrad has, which makes the city really full and makes the city tell a story without no one telling you anything. For example, the first thing you see when you enter Novigrad is someone being burned on a stake. We can see that witch hunters are doing their best job that Radovid told them to do, to burn all of the books which have anything to do with sorcery, that have anything to do with anything which is against him, and you can see that from the first moment you enter. So automatically you have this eerie feeling in the air of like, okay, this is where witch hunters are, this is like kind of where the guards are in the city, and then on the bottom you have the people or the peasants who are basically at the mercy of these witch hunters and guards and basically other cutthroats that are roaming around. And you can actually see that in a few moments where, for example, you're going to be approaching a witch hunter and there is going to be like a peasant in front. He's going to be on his knees because obviously he is asking them for something, or probably to spare his life. On the other side, for example, you have so many distinctions in the city, for example, going from the slums or going from the port of the city all the way, for example, to Hierarch Square. Now, if we go to the docks, for example, or we go to the poorest part of the city, it's vast because on the sides you're gonna be having people doing all kinds of things, and that's these chores and activities on a daily basis which make the city alive, which is something that Cyberpunk in a nutshell was kind of lacking in some areas when it came to these just small things you can see here. You have peasants on the street, you have all kinds of animals which are just roaming around, like pigs and pigeons and cats who are just there, frolicking with the people. And then on the other side you have kids playing, and all of that is painting this picture with the sound, because CDPR has been playing a lot with sound design here. And when you enter the city, you'll hear everything. You're gonna hear people working, you're gonna hear people laughing, crying, begging, yelling at each other, and then on top of that you're going to have people playing the flute or playing the cards, and all of those mixes with the sound create a certain atmosphere which make the city feel alive. It makes the city feel vibrant. If we go to the gates, then for example, you're gonna see people trying to enter the free city because they're running away from war. So there's a whole new dynamic over there. Everywhere you go, there is something to see. There is something to take in, and there is also something which is going to connect this place to the people there. And it was so well thought out that for some time I was like, this is interesting. A game being made in 2015 and then having all of these things that hold out even to this day is insanity. It actually is. Also, besides the people, if you look at the level design of the city itself, it has so many paths and alleyways you can take that it's gonna take you to whole different areas of the city where you're going to see something new. And I think also, in my opinion, is that it's really well done and organized to the point where you can actually go from one side of the city to another on like around the city, or you can take a different path throughout the middle of the streets themselves. And especially if you're coming into the city for the first time, if you haven't done the quests there, everywhere you go, you're going to see something. You're going to have some encounter which is going to kind of immerse you into the city itself, especially going from the intrigues of the city where you have Radovid on one side, Dijkstra also on the other side, and then all kinds of politics being intertwined in the city just makes it a whole different beast compared to the rest of the map, if you ask me, when it came to The Witcher, because on the outside, you know, there is danger, there are monsters, there is this, there and that, but once you enter the city, it's a whole different vibe. It's secure, you know, because it has walls, but at the same time, you're gonna have different enemies in that city who are going to be the same danger as those monsters outside of those city gates. There is also a huge variety between, as I said, rich and the poor, and that also translates to variety of NPCs, and that also translates to what they do, because on the, you know, dock side, you're gonna have these peasants just, you know, carrying those crates, trying to get some money, they're working, and then you're going to go to another part of the city and you're going to see people painting, you're going to see people walking around, having fun, buying stuff, and that's this difference, which is shown really well of just how this medieval age was going on and how the distribution of wealth in the city was being conducted. Now also when it comes to architecture, like, it's just insane. They draw a lot from obviously Eastern Europe and Europe in general when it comes to buildings. If we go for example to Tusa, it's a different story, but still in Novigrad itself they draw so much from, for example, this European culture, and especially like if you look at the Eastern European buildings themselves, you can actually see them here, and I believe they took a lot of references from like some cities in Poland, I believe, and some buildings in Poland, so that also brings out a whole new atmosphere, because it's going to be similar and close to what Witcher is and where Witcher came from, originally being Poland. And if you're trying to capture that spirit, you know, you're doing it really well with those buildings, especially because, you know, Novigrad is not Poland, it's a different universe, but at the same time you capture it really well to the point where you can see the Slavic mythology, but also you have this whole like mix of everything in it, and that what makes, I believe, in my opinion, Novigrad such a good city, and also at the same time a living city, a city with soul, where Geralt does not just feel like a ghost in that city, like, you know, but, you know, you feel like you're a part of that city, especially also not being able to assault people, because obviously you're going to be pummeled by guards. There are also many little details which I noticed throughout the day, especially like different parts of the day, like for example people gathering for prayer, or at the other side, you know, you're gonna be walking by some people and they're gonna have comments on various things, and what's the most important about it is that those comments are going to be connected to the situation. Like, again, I don't like comparing it to Cyberpunk, but Cyberpunk has this issue where, for example, dialogue is not going to be connected to the situation or an NPC speaking it. Meanwhile, in The Witcher, if you're speaking to a fisherman and you see two fishermen, they're gonna be talking about fish, or they're gonna be talking about that. Or if you walk past certain merchants, they're gonna be talking about merchant stuff. If you walk past the guards, they're gonna be talking about their own things. And that's what, in my opinion, at least for me personally, raises this immersion level, because you have NPCs, and when you walk by those NPCs, they are going to be commenting on as their own, you know, as a guard, not just as a random NPC, but as a guard. Also, at the same time, one of the best things is that you're gonna have, at being a Witcher, you're going to draw a lot of eyes to yourself, and at the same time people are going to be commenting all kinds of stuff, so it's always fun to walk around, and then people are going to spit on you, people are going to say all kinds of stuff to Geralt, and that also like makes you part of the city, because you know you're existing there. People are actively reacting to your character, especially if you walk near a guard, he's going to say like, what do you want, like, go away, you know. So those things just help the game really fulfill its duty of having this vibrant city, and the city of serving a purpose of being in the game, of serving a purpose of being immersive enough to keep you inside of it, where you can just go around, as I said, different parts and explore and find something fun to read or to experience, especially, as I said, if you're entering the city for the first time, if you're not, you know, in the city after all of the quests you have finished. And also, if you look at outside of the city, there are people playing next to the river, there are people fishing. It's insanity. It's so vibrant, and it feels so alive that you can just you know, sit down and chill as Geralt. You know, that's one of the things which I believe can be added later on. I mean, they never will be, but it would be cool just to have some more activities around the city as Geralt, where you would be able to do some stuff, you know, besides Gwent and besides everything else. Just to have more activities in the city, that would be cool. Now, obviously, those things are never going to be added, but it's just, you know, something to think about for the future of The Witcher. You know, when you have a city like this, or I don't know if they're gonna have a city like this in the future, or a different one, who knows, but you know, having a little bit more activities from within the city of different forms and factors would be cool to do. But at the same time, it's a staple of how you do cities in video games, and it's something that CDPR needs to go back to and really like go and say, ah, okay, this is like what made the people say like, oh, okay, we are immersed, and where can we add that later on? So yeah, this was kind of my video explaining why I like Novigrad so much. Hopefully you enjoyed it. It's just a beautiful city, like architecture wise, planning wise, people wise, NPC wise. It's so vibrant, it feels so alive, and it captures the spirit of the Witcher universe. It's just insanity. Now, people are going to say, well, Beauclair is better from Toussaint. Yeah, but if we look at just the Witcher as a Witcher, you know, the universe and the feeling the Witcher has, the depressive one, because it is depressing. You know, Novigrad is going to be one of those, but it's not just depressing. At the same time, it has its beauties, but also it has its downsides. It's every city should have, and especially a city as vibrant as this portrays. Now, yeah, it just tells you everything about the city without even interacting with the people, and that's what ultimately helps the immersion itself. So thank you for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, hopefully you found it fun. If you did, smash that like and subscribe button for more, and also tell me down below what is your favorite city from The Witcher, and also what do you think about Novigrad itself. Again, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to check us out on Twitter and Discord. We can continue our discussion there. And also huge thanks to my current Patreon supporters. It's amazing to have the support. Thank you again from the bottom of my heart, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.